Whenever people ask me, something about career and wanting to be an actor and how to get started, and the first thing I'll always say is, if there's anything else you would rather do, anything, do that first. Because this is hard. And you have to be driven, and it has to be what wakes you up in the morning and what allows you to breathe. And if it's not that, it's hard. You have to want this with everything that you have, because it's not an easy career.
If you're a professional actor challenged by an increasingly fragmented industry, then this podcast is for you. The Hollywood Actor Podcast is an anthology made up of the stories of actors building their bodies of work by redefining themselves, reframing their goals, and reevaluating their opportunities. No matter where we are in our careers, we're always looking to be inspired and to share ourselves across our community. This podcast will offer that opportunity to guests and listeners alike, as we all discover what it means to be a working, professional, successful actor. This is Jamie Young, and you're listening to the Hollywood Actor Podcast. Today's guest is Debrianna Mansini. Debrianna is an actor based in Santa Fe, New Mexico, though a transplant from New York City. Debrianna has trained with such greats as Kim Stanley, Jose Quintero, Edward Albee, and most recently Alan Arkin and Laura Gardner of the Howard Fine Studio, Los Angeles. Her credits include a recurring role in Breaking Bad and its spin-off Better Call Saul, and a supporting role in the film Hell or High Water opposite Jeff Bridges. Debrianna will appear in the upcoming series Messiah and the film Rattlesnake, both for Netflix. And if you're in LA, please check out her one-woman play, The Meatball Chronicles, running March 29th through April 14th. Now let's hear from Hollywood actor Debrianna Mansini.
I grew up on the East Coast and got most of my training, I'd say the bulk of it in New York, mostly actors studio people who I studied with there, and I also went to Circle in the Square and trained there, and had the really good fortune of having some really great teachers there, and here actually where I am in Santa Fe, I've had some really great actor studio teachers that taught here. Kim Stanley, the famous actress who was wonderful, she was here, and Vivian Nathan, all of them came out of actors studio trainings and worked with Kazan and the theater greats. So I've had the good fortune of having great training. I've also gotten to work with Alan Arkin here, studied with him for a bit. So I've been very blessed to have had really great teachers. And so I worked in New York and then came to New Mexico and, fell in love with being here and had really good fortune. I've had a really good career staying in New Mexico.
Do you bounce between all the markets? Do you spend half of your time in New York or a little bit of your time in LA?
I spent time I used to spend a lot more time in New York, but it's mostly here and LA now. We have a very thriving film industry here in New Mexico, and so I go between here and LA.
Yeah, well, it sounds like you really did tap into the industry in New Mexico from the very beginning, right? I was looking back at some of your credits in plain sight from about 10 years ago.
Yeah, I've been very, very lucky here, I have to say. So,
was that one of your first co-stars in plain sight, or were you starting to work within the film industry while you were still in New York?
Oh yeah, no, it was. I've been doing that for a long time. It was way before In Plain Sight. Yeah. And so going back and forth between here, I did, theater in New York mostly, and did most of my film work between here and LA.
How are you finding New York?
Well, I grew up on that end of the world, but I guess if I was to choose between New York and LA, I would always choose New York because I find people in New York are sort of right in your face. You know exactly what's going on, and there's no facade. There's no let's do lunch and then you never hear from somebody again. You really are. You know what you're dealing with there. But there's also things I really love about LA, and I'm excited to be going back there to do my show. So there you have it.
Well, in terms of the artists as well, when I was in New York, I was finding that I would run into more performing artists that were firmly
Yes.
within musical theater or even maybe experimental theater, but straight plays, it seemed like that was struggling while I was there. Struggling since New York was greatly expanding, redefining itself. The
Hmm.
tourism quotient was changing the programming of not just Broadway, but pushing down into off Broadway. It was.
Yeah, it's harder. I think it's a lot different now. You know, the city's changed from when I was there, when I was living there, when I was growing up there. It was there were neighborhoods and people could afford to live in Manhattan. I mean, I don't know how artists do it now. You know, young artists going there. It's so you can't even barely live in Brooklyn, let alone in Manhattan, where, I lived as a struggling actor. I lived in Manhattan. I don't know how anybody does it anymore. It's so expensive. So, I think there's good and bad parts of where the industry is now. You get to put yourself on tape and send a tape out, so you can kind of be anywhere. And there's other markets open, smaller markets like Georgia and Texas and Louisiana and here. You can kind of carve out a career for yourself and not have to be in Manhattan. So but then sometimes you're not part of a bigger community where there's a lot more, teachers and stuff. That definitely, I'm glad I got my training before I came here, because, there's definitely a lack of people who can train you here.
But you said that people are passing through Santa Fe at least, and so when they do, or maybe
Hmm.
they're making a point to go to Santa Fe to teach or to have
Oh
a
yeah, yeah. I've
multi-week
brought in
workshop.
Laura Gardner from Howard Fine's studio. She comes in frequently to teach, and yeah, we get people coming through now. Plus, the industry is just only getting bigger here, so I suspect that that's going to happen more often now. It did in kind of the earlier years, but the film industry died a little bit here when we didn't have a governor that was as supportive of it. But it's all sort of back on track now, so I expect that will happen again.
Well, that's great that you're part of that solution, though, that you're helping bring these artists from the different markets and saying, look, you need to help us build that community, the above the line talent base here in
Yeah,
this market because it's so ripe.
yeah, exactly. We have to have um, that gap filled here, because people want to work above the line as well as crew, and we have great below the line people here, so it's the next part is building that part up.
Hmm. What was that
Yeah.
big story, that defining moment where you came to New Mexico and you said, I think I can do it here. I think I can have my career and I can balance a full life here in Santa Fe, New Mexico.
Well, I came here on vacation, and I was like, oh, I could charge a house here for what I'm paying for rent in Manhattan, and I wouldn't have to live there. I actually didn't really know I didn't like living in the city until I left it, and all of a sudden I felt like I could breathe, and I thought, I'm going to be an artist wherever I live. I didn't get into this industry to be a famous person. I got into it because I want to be an artist and I have something to say, and I will say that wherever I live. And I want to live where I want to be happy. And this made me happy. So I stayed.
Did you have a lot of friends here or
No, I
family? Or
didn't
it
know
was just purely
anybody. I came to
vacation?
visit one friend. That was it. I
Oh
didn't know
man, wow.
anybody. But there was something I knew I didn't want to go back to Manhattan. I don't know what it was. I knew that everyone thought I was nuts. They're like, oh my God, they didn't even know where New Mexico was. They thought they needed a passport to come here. Like, I was like, I don't know. Do you need a passport to go to New Jersey? Why would you need one to go to New Mexico? But, it was kind of, people still ask that. It's kind of weird, but I've never regretted making that choice. And, I was in training with so many great, talented people. And as a young actor, I saw, people older than me. And I thought, some people, you look at them and you're like, well, they're not famous. They're working actors. Why do I want to be that? Do I want to just be struggling along in New York, or do I want to make a career for myself and a life for myself where I'm happy? And, I came here, I started a theater company. I have worked steadily in film and television since I've been here. And when there was a time when the film industry wasn't so strong here, I went and I did the news on public radio for 10 years. So, I've always, and then I made a web series and created work for myself, and now I've written a show and I'm touring it. So I've always been a person who kind of takes the bull by the horns and makes my own work. And so I've never regretted not staying in the city.
That's so refreshing to hear, because I feel like a lot of people are just coming around to that idea that they have a lot more control over their careers. They don't have to move. They don't have to audition. They don't have to be they don't have to contort themselves or brand themselves in specific ways. I think the industry is changing so drastically right now that it's
there's so much room for content now. There's so much more work available. That was not the case for a long time. Doing what I did when I did it was, people, like I said, people thought I was crazy because the only two places supposedly on the planet you could work was New York or Hollywood. And so, it wasn't so easy then. You didn't tape auditions. I had to fly or drive, to LA or Dallas, unless I flew to New York to work. It wasn't so easy then. It's much different now, and you can have much more control over your career. You just kind of have to get a grasp on that.
Well, yeah, it seems like you were ahead of the curve and showing people the way.
That's the tendency for me. But that's it. That's okay. I don't mind. Yeah, my web series was about GMOs and glyphosate, and that was, I did that 7 years ago. Now all of a sudden you're seeing ads on TV. If you've been hurt by glyphosate, I'm like, yeah, I tried to tell you that 7 years ago. Nobody knew what it was. So,
there should be a crossover fiction, nonfiction promo you could work out with those guys.
Yeah, no kidding. So, yeah, I'm not surprised that people caught up to it, but I'm glad they did.
So when you moved from New York to New Mexico, did you retain your agent in New York, or did you signed up with a new agent in New Mexico and started really plugging into that market?
Yeah, I had an agent. I have an agent here. It's still the same one, and I had a manager in New York, an agent in New York for probably, the crossover was probably about 10 years that I went back and forth with two different agents. But yeah, so I did for a while, and I don't now. You kind of don't need to because the industry is so spread. But I'm good here in LA.
So you find that one agent does have a lot more of a jurisdiction across the country now? It's not really dissected into specific markets?
Yeah. I mean, breakdowns go to all of them. So, it's interesting. It's a different animal being a female in this industry and being an older female in this industry. I find I'm probably better off trying to book roles here than I would be if I tried to work in LA right now, because people know me here, and I'm not that known in LA with not having gone there straight through. Do you know what I mean? So it's better for me to be a big fish in a small pond at this point. The industry is tough on women, that's for sure.
Have you spent time in LA?
I was there for about a year and a half at one point, and then back and forth. Yeah, I have great friends there, and a good community of people there that I know and love.
But you find everything in Santa Fe, and you find that your career, you keep building those relationships and staying in the good graces of everyone within the industry, building your TV credits in New Mexico?
Yep, TV and film. I've done, quite a few films here. I've worked with Jeff Bridges twice. I just did a TV series with Beau Bridges, and I did a film at the end of last year for Netflix, and I'm shooting an independent feature this summer that I'm the lead in, and so yeah, I'm happy here.
Wow. Yeah, I saw a list of your credits, and it seemed like most of what passes through New Mexico you've been able to work on.
Yeah, it's true. I know. And, I'm a regular on Better Call Saul and got that from being on Breaking Bad. So I'm really lucky.
Can you talk about that at all? Did you have a story where that character, I think the character's Fran, right?
Yeah, Fran. Oh my God.
One episode in Breaking Bad, but that parlayed into that character popping back up. Was there a relationship you had, or how did that character come to be on Better Call Saul?
Well, it was funny when I did I got cast in the last season of Breaking Bad. I auditioned in season 1, and they didn't cast me until the last season. I was shocked when I got called to come in and do that part. And so I read the scene, and I thought it was just a waitress scene in the diner. But I thought, to myself, what if I play it like I've known Mike for years, and I'm a little miffed at this person sitting with him. I don't trust the person, so I kind of created a whole world around the few lines that I had. And sure enough, they caught it. I mean, they got it, and they put me in Better Call Saul. Now, when I had done a film that went to Sundance, and I was there and met Bob Odenkirk at Sundance that year, and it was right before Better Call Saul was coming to New Mexico. He hadn't shot it yet, and so he said, "Oh, I'll bring your stuff in to casting," and so. I think he did. And they called me for a nice part. And then my agent called me back. She goes, "Oh, no, you can't go in for that because they're only bringing back people who can play the same character from Breaking Bad to Better Call Saul." And I thought to myself, "Oh, I'll never be back. Who would bring back a waitress?" And somehow they bring me back every season. It's just, I'm like, this has just it's been so much fun, and I feel really grateful.
That's cool. From that small acting choice,
great show to work on
around those lines.
Yeah, I don't know. That was my intention when I, did the part from the beginning, and I don't know. Vince saw it, I guess.
Yeah, you must have brought, obviously you brought something to the role, and it stuck out but fit in. I think you hear a lot of people talk about co-stars, even guest stars, where you're really not trying to show up the series regulars or be any more than sometimes a plot device. You're helping move the story forward. But you not only fit in, but you contributed in an interesting way by making that bold choice a world around those lines. That's quite a lesson, I think.
Yeah, it was. I don't know. I don't know where I heard that. It's somewhere through my training years, but it worked for sure in that moment to have brought that information to the piece. So woohoo!
Yeah. No, good. Yeah, exactly. Well done. But it's not just. But it's not just knowing, and working diligently with your agent or impressing casting directors. It seems like you're working on many different projects that are coming through with whole new creative teams.
Oh yeah. I'm grateful to have written a show that is right now. My show, Meatball Chronicles, is it's been touring, and I've gotten really great interest in that. So I'm very excited to be working on that and bringing that around and sharing the work with people. It's just been very gratifying, I have to say, and also to be in control of my own work.
Mm-hmm. What was the genesis of that project? Did that come out of your theater company?
No, actually, when I was in LA for the long stint, I started writing. I just started writing pieces, and I had the idea at the time because I'm Italian and my family's Italian and we all cook, and I thought, oh, everything I've ever learned in life, I feel like there's been a meal attached to it, or anything that was important. It always seemed to have something I ate along with it or cooked. And I thought, well, it might be interesting for me to create a piece where I cook on stage. And that was literally the impetus for it. But I just started writing, pieces and wasn't sure how it was going to hang together. And I'd pick it up and put it down and pick it up and put it down, and wasn't quite sure what I wanted to do with it. And a woman that I know here, Tanya Taylor Rubenstein, is a solo performance coach, and she's internationally known, and she's a very good friend of mine. And I ran into her one day at a restaurant, and I said, I really want to see if I can develop what I've been writing into a piece. And she said, well, I'm starting a year-long class if you want to take it. So I was like, okay. So I started bringing my, pieces to that class, and we were able to develop it. She helped me hone it into a piece. And I took it then to the Last Frontier Theater Conference in Valdez, Alaska. I don't know if you know about that conference, but it's a phenomenal conference for playwrights and actors, and it's been going for, 28 years. And it's oddly enough in Valdez, which is gorgeous and weird that it would be there, but it's amazing. It's an amazing place. So I brought it there to workshop it, and it was accepted into the conference. And I worked on it again there, took it back, rewrote it, and then brought it back to Tanya and worked on it again. And I said, okay, I'm ready to workshop it again. And she said, no, you're not. You're going to do it. I was like, what? So I just put on my I put on my big girl pants and did it. And it's a, boy, I'll tell you what, there's nothing like a solo show. That's a piece that you've written. It's your own material. And when you go out there, it's only you. And, there's nothing more naked than that. There just isn't. It's quite astounding to do something like that. So yeah, it's a 90-minute piece, and I'm thrilled to be doing it, and I'm thrilled that people like it.
Sounds like a very authentic piece, too, coming out of your identity as an Italian woman, growing up with these different meals and how they collided with your different experiences.
Yeah. Well, the conceit of the show is it's basically my family's recipe for a meatball, and that recipe gets passed down, and generationally. I'm first generation here, so my family came here, from Italy, and so that recipe got handed down, and and each part of the meatball, each ingredient has a story attached to it, and it all kind of comes together at the end, just like a meatball.
Don't tell me you cook on stage for the audience.
No, I that was my original intent, but as I created the piece and realized that I was going to do it, I thought if I wanted to keep doing it, if it was successful enough to keep going, that would be a really kind of challenging thing to bring to a theater in a touring situation.
Yeah.
Setting up a kitchen and all that. So I thought that I would write it the way that was compelling enough that people felt like they could taste it. And sure enough, that happened, and people are generally really hungry when they leave. So everywhere I've gone, I've partnered with a restaurant. So people had a restaurant they could anchor to either after the show or during the run, where they could eat something that was inspired by my show. So when I was in LA for the Fringe Festival last year, I worked with Hunter and Charlie's on I think he's on Santa Monica. Anyway, I think I'm going to be working with them again. And I've also worked with some nonprofit that helps to feed people or feed children, and have often worked with someone to raise awareness about food insecurities. And so I'll be working with Project Angel Food and giving a portion of the ticket sales to them.
I saw a little bit of that in your biography on Broadway World, where you said that you've also been an activist throughout your career. Did that start before the Meatball Chronicles?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I call myself an activist. Yeah, I've always been politically involved. I've always been politically involved. I don't know why that is, but it's just been since I was a kid. I've always been interested in politics. It started at a very young age, and I actually was at the Roundhouse, our state capitol today, and I was advocating for lifting the cap on the film industry and women's reproductive rights, and I feel very blessed to be able to go to our state capitol. I know in a lot of places in across the country, it's not so easy for people to be able to do that, and I feel like it's important that we make our voices heard if we want to, we want a country that we all love and want to participate in. It's important to make your voice heard.
And that's excellent that you're connecting it so closely to your artistic career as well, like with the Meatball Chronicles, that you can partner with those types of organizations alongside the product that you're putting out there.
Yeah, it was interesting when our new governor is Michelle Lujan Grisham, and I worked for her last year, helped raise money for her. She was, as a representative in the United States Congress, she was helping to write a bill that would end lunch shaming across the country at a federal level, and so it made sense for me to work with her and to work with organizations that were writing legislation to try and stop that practice. And we definitely did in New Mexico, but it's not. And I think they did in California also. I think it stopped there, but it's not everywhere across the country. And just because a kid is poor doesn't mean that they should be shamed and have their lunch thrown away in front of them because their parents don't have money. It's horrific to me. So it's something that I felt like I could help with since the core of what I'm performing right now is around food.
And so going from TV auditions to booking television to booking film to creating your own plays to running a theater company, to how do you balance that life, and how do you plug in to the larger community while you are pursuing your career on so many different fronts?
Well, now it's a lot easier because of social media. So I have a huge Twitter following. I think I'm close to 14,000 people now that, are real people. They're not I know I didn't pay for that following. I've developed, I've developed it over, the last 7 years. And so, I'm connected to people around the country through social media. And I guess that's probably the largest part of how that happens now, between Facebook and I'm not so big on Instagram, but mostly Facebook and Twitter. Is how I stay connected, and I can stay connected to the people that I know in Alaska now, and people that I met at the theater conference, from all over the world there, because we have a Facebook page, so we get to still connect to each other that way. I mean, it's so much easier now than it used to be. That's for sure. There's ups and downsides to social media, but that's certainly a benefit of it for sure.
Yeah, you can just scroll through your feed. You have different groups that you can follow, see first. You can hide them if they get a little bit aggressive. um, I I struggle because I know that this is a digital age and we can all find ways to connect. But like I was just illustrating, there are different ways that people can tune out or click off. I am always trying to search for those platforms where we can actually hear people's voices or see people in real time, or attend a gathering or a festival. And like you said, you were at the Roundhouse today, so that's taking advantage of that political event. That's an annual one. Are there other types of events that you do make sure that you put your face in, try to get your feet on the ground for?
Oh, sure. Yeah. And when there's the film festivals that come through here, I'm part of New Mexico Women in Film. So, I participate in those kinds of things, events, whatever panels they have. I'm oftentimes asked to be on panels. I feel like any of those organizations that you can get involved in. Even when I was part of the Fringe festivals, usually they have video conferencing and that kind of thing, and I always participate in those kinds of things. So you get to know your community a little bit better, and the people that you're going to be working with.
That's true. That is a good start to find those different digital ways to interact.
Yeah, it's and I'm taking a class now with some other actors, and we talk to each other through Zoom. So we're all on, we can conference in. It's not the same as being in person, but it also allows people who, are not in the country right now to be able to connect with the group. There's nothing like being in person, that's for sure.
Yeah, last year I did a play and we used the app Zoom to communicate to our understudy every rehearsal, and she was down in San Diego. I thought that was pretty incredible. First time I used technology throughout the entire length of each rehearsal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and when sometimes Laura Gardner will coach me from LA when I have an audition here, and we'll Skype or Zoom or something, and she'll coach me that way. And it seems to work. The last thing she coached me on, I booked. So we just did it over, by the computer. So there's definitely advantages to the digital age. But I think, everything has its limitation. There's nothing like, being in the room with somebody, that's for sure. So hopefully I'll get to meet you in person when I come out there.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we'll definitely be talking up your the Meatball Chronicles, and I'd like to see that in person myself. That's only up the road by a mile or two from where I am. And definitely,
wonderful.
Talk to people about that on the podcast and on social media.
Thanks. Yeah, totally. Just let me know. I make sure you have a seat. Yeah, I'm excited. That's a sweet theater. Well, I'm very excited to work in there.
Is there anything that you do on a weekly basis, just to close out the conversation, that helps you? Like we were saying earlier, there's different ways that we can communicate with these different groups and different coaches and different industry professionals. But is there any way that you, on a weekly basis, make sure you do something, be it on a digital platform or in person, that helps ground you or fulfills you in some way that's both artistic and personal?
Well, I'm a writer, so I think I do that, and then I hunt around on YouTube. I watch TED Talks. I love to watch those, and I think, but mostly I think writing is what grounds me. I've been a writer my whole life. When I was in college, I was published. I won a poetry writing contest, and I've been writing since I was a kid. So I think I generally think that that's what grounds me. And now I'm just in the conception stages of a second piece, a second show. So that's what's got my focus right now.
Yeah. Sounds like you do have a lot to say, a lot to communicate to the world.
Thank you. Yeah, I think so. Well, I can't seem to stop. So there you go.
No one's going to stop you. And that's great that you can be writing from Santa Fe, because it's, again, the digital age where we can be anywhere and be communicating with anyone and be typing at home. But then you can go out and go to a Women in Film meeting, or go to the Santa Fe Independent Film Festivals coming up the next week. And there are those different events, but when you don't have to go to them and they're not even in your city, talking to people that are listening to the podcast that live in, very, very rural or remote areas, they can still create by just simply writing, not even on a laptop, but, pad and pen kind of thing. That's very empowering, letting people know that they have things to say and they have a way to communicate and a way to now share that on a larger scale.
Yeah. And we have a lot more power than we think we do. That's for sure.